welcome to Value Addition Business Global Show and recorded podcast. It is a live show that helps you grow in your personal, professional, and business environments exponentially. Today we have Mr. Atul B. Bhatnagar with us, and today's episode is for those of you who want to explore opportunities abroad, come to know about various factors before moving abroad for working. This episode is also for those people who are already in the senior or top level positions and have been managing teams and now are deciding to go solo, find a path of being a coach, consultant, trainer, advisor, or an entrepreneur. So incidentally, it is Atul's birthday today, and I'm super glad to host him for today's show. Welcome to the show, Atul.
Thank you, Divya. It's a pleasure. I have seen shows of yours in the past. They give you lots of good food for thought on a Saturday, Sunday. So I'm very glad to be here.
So definitely before we go ahead and ask Atul to introduce himself to you so that you can have better idea as to what kind of growth stories are we going to cover, what kind of case studies and what kind of frameworks, let me show you this promo video. All right, Atul, thank you so much. And let's get to have your introduction and please share something about yourself with us all.
Thanks, Divya, for introducing my birthday to the audience. Yes, I feel 60. I feel like a diamond. And I think that's the reason the age of 60 is classified as diamond. You are, with the right amount of pressures of life, you have become one. I feel so. So like diamond, there are no two diamonds which are the same. My name is also Atul. So that's uniqueness in the diamond. So I think, this is a great time to be live and kicking with a whole lot of experience and being on your show. Started my life as an engineer, went on to do banking, and then got into skill development, went abroad 14 years, and now I am working with social impact organizations in the field of skill development, fintech, and renewable energy. I am with an organization called the Pan IIT Foundation, which is creating blue-collar workforce for Indian companies and abroad. I'm working with people with disabilities in Sarthak Education Trust. We are empowering them through skill development and employment. And we are looking at rural development through renewable energy, using the latest technology, something which our late President Abdul Kalam dreamed of, the Pura, P-U-R-A, where you provide urban amenities with the latest technologies to our villagers to be able to kickstart their economies. So that's what keeps me satisfied with what I'm doing, and I'm happy to do more.
Wow, inspiring. So I understand from your introduction that you have moved from global environment to working with the villagers and impacting rural lives. We will talk about it because many of the top corporate industry leaders definitely would want to create impact, once they have already hired, they have already managed the teams and managed everything in their life. So we will talk about it. In today's session, please expect us to talk about for those who are still looking forward to global opportunities, we will talk about global opportunities, moving abroad and working with the global teams, adjusting to multi-culture, multi-people environments. Then in the second part of the episode, we will talk about what makes one take decisions about following a solo path, because Atul, you might be agreeing with me, it is not that easy as it sounds. After a super successful career, going ahead with a solo path of becoming an entrepreneur or becoming advisor or coach, etc. So what challenges and opportunities can one expect when one decides to go solo? So this episode is equally valid for the newcomers as well as the established corporate leaders. Then in the last part of the episode, we are going to talk about how to find that new purpose in different phases of life. Because sometimes, when we are about 30, 35 years old, we have different purpose in life. We think this is the purpose of life. But when we cross 40, we tend to think differently. When we cross 50, we tend to think differently. And now you're already on the verge of, 60, you've already become 60. So definitely your thought process must have changed. So I would love to understand from you, how does life's purpose changes from time to time, and what can an individual do about it? Let's start with your growth story. How did it all happen? What was the scenario then, and how is the scenario different now? If someone has to start thinking of venturing into global opportunities, how can we go ahead with all these factors?
I wouldn't say because of the pandemic things have changed. Right now, they look very changed in that environment itself. People are working from home. Uh, Flights are cancelled, so people can't go abroad. They can't even think of going abroad as of the moment right now. People are slightly uncertain. So this is very much the VUCA world that we were talking about even within the pre-pandemic area. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and complex. So this is really, we are in the midst of it. Pandemic is just one cause which has hastened the VUCA world. So at this moment, I think we need to kind of assemble our skills together. When I say skills, because there are, even a World Economic Forum report says that a person might have to make some 7 job changes. And I'm talking of a person in the 20s, may have to make some 7 job changes, of which 5 jobs are not there right now. So you can't even see these 5 jobs. So those 5 jobs will be designed as you grow in life. And the jobs that are there, you may have to really adapt to it very fast and with lot of skills, lot of learning. So one thing that's very certain that has changed from the past to now is, first you used to kind of work hard in college, get a degree, get one of the, let's say, the more famous degrees, and hopefully that will serve you for life. There's no such guarantee now. You have to be, learning is now the new normal. You have to keep learning, keep changing. I mean, say for instance, I have a management degree from IIM Calcutta and in marketing, but very frankly, that marketing has changed completely. It's now cyber marketing. I've been taught marketing in the physical world. So I have to change myself. I have to learn the new concepts. So these are things that you have to be, let's say, looking at more closely. And if you're going abroad, now, let me just take an example from the Indian situation, because these are things that I learned for myself. And in order to be so-called successful, I had to adapt to those situations. One is time management. I mean, sorry to say, but the Indians are always late for meetings, correct? Everybody is out on the road in a hurry, but nobody reaches on time. It's a very standard kind of a response one gets. Or it's kind of built into our DNA. So, I mean, when I went abroad, and I'll give you a very clear example, I was with the HSBC in UAE. My boss was a Britisher. There's 3-4 of us Indians who were direct reportees to him. And we used to arrive at his cabin maybe 5 minutes late, sometimes 10 minutes late. And we thought it'd be understood as, okay, not being late, but slightly late, So one day, the meeting was supposed to start at 9 o'clock. It was a Monday morning meeting when you decide for the rest of the week what you're going to do. We reached 5 minutes late, and we found him. He had moved away from his meeting table back to his main chair in his office itself. And he says, look, at 9 o'clock, I was here. Nobody else was here. So I talked to myself. I've taken my notes. You will get them on your laptop. And sorry, that's the end of it. We just got the message very loud and clear. 9 o'clock means 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock does not even mean 9:01. It means 9. In fact, it means
true.
8:55.
Absolutely. And I so agree with you, because I've also worked in the international environment, having interacted with people in US and Canada. I've got to understand the importance of time. 9:00 means 9:00, not 9:01. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, to the point. Yeah.
Correct. Second is, on compliance itself. Compliance to rules. Now, it can be rules within the organization, can be, or even on the road itself. We love to honk as Indians. In abroad, if you are honking, it's like you're abusing somebody, correct?
True.
You're in a car, so you do not honk. That's it. End of story. It doesn't matter which country. It is, you just do not honk. It's only an Indian situation. One has to be very careful about this. Second, unwritten rules like drinking and driving. Here you might get away with it. Because you can get away with it, you do it. In a place
True.
like Bihar, if you're found drinking and driving, you'll be first put into jail. Next, straight
Absolutely.
from jail to the airport, you lose your job, you lose your career.
Yeah. And then
One
you
has
get
to
the tickets as well. No?
correct.
3 tickets, that means your license gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
these are so. I mean, this you have to discipline your life to be in a
Mm-hmm.
country outside of your own country, where
Yeah,
you compliance to rules is a done thing. It should flow within
yeah,
your ways. You don't have to keep them in mind. You have to be
yeah,
disciplined to be able to follow this. You
yeah.
you cross the road at a pedestrian crossing, not in the
Yeah.
middle of the road somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Atul, in fact, this reminds me that for all those young leaders who want to go abroad, start for global opportunities, and establish themselves as multi-team, multicultural leaders, it's important that Atul has shared that, these founding principles or foundation principles of working in multicultural environment will remain same wherever you are in the industry or in different countries. Please follow the rules there strictly. Please adjust yourself to that environment. Now you have spoken about it. I would love to shift to the second part of it, because there are some good case studies that I want to pick up from your life story that you had shared the other day, Atul. We have understood from your conversation that you have to follow the rules and you also have to adjust to the environment there.
One third portion I wanted to
Yeah,
talk about
sure,
is
sure.
quality. I mean, it's
Okay,
somewhat compliance also leads to quality. I mean, when you
true.
are giving somebody um, a deadline or a commitment, it has to
Yeah,
be honored, and that has
true.
to be honored with quality. When we are given an
Mhm,
assignment, let's say it has to be
mhm,
submitted after 1 week, we
mhm,
only suppose, let's say next Saturday something has to be submitted. You start on the
mhm.
Friday night, literally. For Indians,
True.
things will not get done unless there's an 11th hour. But when you're abroad,
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
literally every single day literally report to your teacher or your boss or somebody that something is moving, something has happened, and it has a collaborative thing. You work in teams out there. It's not about
yes,
one person doing brilliance. So
yeah,
these are things that I kind of stuck to my mind and
yeah.
changed me for a better human being. So I thought I'll share with
Absolutely.
people also.
Yeah, absolutely, Atul. And why am I laughing out loud is because whenever I am in India, I tend to behave like the culture here. And when I'm abroad, I tend to behave the culture, I tend to adopt the culture there. So it's true with all human beings, wherever we are, that environment also shapes our personality. So it is a strong reminder by your side that, it's not just the culture over there, it's also the compliance, it's also the commitment, it's also the quality that you have to follow. Amazing. Now I move on to the second part of it, especially for those who are now senior and top industry leaders established and they want to go solo. You have also got multi exposure. I was going through your profile and I was amazed to see that starting from global opportunities to managing the skill development to now managing the villagers projects, you have tremendous exposure. So similarly, when one becomes that senior or that top authority, it becomes literally difficult to go solo when you are supported by large number of teams. How does one venture out into that territory? So what's been your exposure? Please share with us some insights.
Yeah, going solo is not easy. Comes point in your life when you feel that enough is enough. We've done enough outside. Now let me do some payback time, because everybody has a seva bhav, a service
Yeah,
element, and you want to get away from that rat race that you initially joined, and you were. Your life is determined by the designations you get, but how big a P&L responsibility you have, how many regions, how many teams, and how many people. All of that used to give you a lot of satisfaction, correct? That was like how vast your work is. And then come one day, then you say, okay, hold on, whether you're being so-called retired because you're reached an age, or because you've reached your, let's say, age limit in terms of, because people are now talking of demographic dividend and the average age coming down to 29 years. So definitely at 60, you are double the normal age, and
yeah,
you can't so-called get the same salaries that you were getting earlier. So you
yeah,
have to turn solo. When you turn solo, now it's a very interesting thing. From being involved with teams, and having people reporting to you. There comes one fine day when you've taken the decisions, and that day there are no more emails, no more phone
Yeah.
calls, no secretary giving you meetings, no
Yeah.
one ringing you up and saying, when are you coming to office? And it's all
Absolutely.
about from work being enlarged to now how you enrich your own work. So work enlargement, versus work enrichment. And
Mm-hmm.
rather than your brain getting stormed with a whole lot of stuff, now comes the stillness. You are now
True.
with you yourself. And I'm telling you
Wow.
one thing that is very important. I mean, you may not have teams, you can relax for that 1 or 2 months. You feel very relaxed because, nobody's going to bother you. You can get up anytime, you can hit the golf course, you can do whatever you want, etc. But then after some time, even that starts to bore you. Now,
True.
you've got only 5 reportees with you. Now, those 5 reportees are
Okay.
your mind, your
Yeah.
body, your memory,
Yeah.
your intellect, and
Wow.
your ego. The biggest
Wow.
and the most problematic thing is your ego, correct? Because
Yeah.
that's when you
Yeah.
start saying, okay, hold on. I used to have a designation which had the chief something something, chief executive officer, chief operating officer, chief this or chief that, and
Yeah.
now I am nothing, or I'm consultant, correct? That
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your ego says, what are you doing now? So that's
Yeah.
where I think management of all the things that we talk about in a corporate life, which we didn't
Yeah.
do, we didn't manage ourselves. We always manage
Yeah.
others. Now
True.
it's a question of how you manage yourself.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
manage yourself, that's when you start seeing impact really happening. Till that time
Wow.
it was,
Wow.
in a, let's say, farcical world. Now you are managing yourself, and through that creating value for people,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's village or whether it's your society or whether it's in a community itself. You
Yeah.
tend to bring that out from you, and that is a much, let's say, satisfying thing. Of course, you may not get the same kind of monies, but who
Yeah.
needs money at this age? You
Yeah.
hopefully, if
Well
you've done
said.
well, you prepared
Hmm.
yourself.
Yeah, and in any case, in most of the scenarios that we are talking about, for the senior and top leadership, when they plan to go solo, definitely it is understood that they will have some sense of financial abundance or financial freedom by now. I want you to talk about those 5 reportees once again, because this is one of the most important things which we have to think, but we miss out on thinking and digesting well. So, can you elaborate on those 5 reportees that are left with us when we plan to go solo? Please elaborate. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so let me start with the ego itself. I mean, the first thing is the ego itself.
yeah,
When I say ego, and this is where your meditation and your understanding of your own self comes into being. So
yeah,
when you are feeling pressured, or when you're feeling bad, or when you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling sad, disappointed, any of those, let's say the negative emotions first, because that's
yeah.
where it hits you more. That's
Mm-hmm.
where you have to kind of distance yourself. Okay, it's not you, it's the ego that's getting hurt, correct? It's the ego which is kind of making you feel the way it is, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
you, it's the ego itself. So there is an inner self inside you which is at peace. It says, I'm just watching, laughing that you are
Yeah,
having this trouble. So you literally have to distance from yourself. So ego management, let's say meditation for that. Then there's the
mm-hmm.
intellect is something like, somebody is giving you some pieces of wisdom, a new way to lead life, and you say, no, hold on, I know much better. You're
Yeah,
resistant to change, you're resistant to learning. So that's where the
mm-hmm.
intellect comes in. Mind
Mm-hmm.
is like a kite, it flies all over the place. I mean, you cannot. And mind is, as I'm also art of living devotee here, and what Guruji says, that mind is like more fluid than water also, and more fluid than air also. It can reach any place, anywhere. So that needs
Yeah,
to be again concentrated on. Then
true.
the body itself. The body is very important, because physically you need to be in shape. There are certain things that you don't want to do. You don't want to cross the road in a hurry, because at your age, some things do slow down. The discipline, the self-discipline of your body, what you eat, how you exercise, get into a routine. I mean, that routine which was previously there, you go to office at a certain time, come back from office at a certain time. All those things have to be taken care of. So these are the, let's say, the direct reportees for which the appraisal is only you yourself.
So let me reiterate that you have five reportees, and these five primary reportees are a kind of your mental faculties that are also your strengths. So when appraisal comes, you are the one who's doing their appraisal, and you have to manage. When you also plan to go solo after a successful stint at the corporate life, you also have to start thinking about your physical health. And Atul also shared that when we take that brief break, maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or maybe 1 or 2 months, we feel inspired, we feel good, we feel contented. But since we have been habitual of working so hard for all through our life, so one has to start thinking. One particular thing, Atul, I have figured out about you is, rather than venturing into, a complete entrepreneurship, you've also been advisor to a lot of NGOs and, not for profit organizations. How does one decide at this stage whether I need to go ahead with my yet another financial innings, or enough is enough, I should contribute to society? I mean, what tussle goes on, and how does one actually reach the conclusion?
Yeah, it's a this is where somewhere I think the in my life I have not planned as such. I mean, I did not say, okay, I have a 5-year goal and a 10-year goal, and then after retirement I'm going to work for this and that and the other. This is where I think you need to kind of leave yourself loose. I mean, you have to use that Shah Rukh Khan dialogue, okay, bhai, whatever you want, you leave it to the universe, and the universe will conspire to make it happen for you. So you just say, okay, look, I want to make an impact, correct? So how I didn't say that, correct? So then came an opportunity, okay, look, people with disabilities, and I had some skill development, and they said, why don't you come onto our board, and let's work together on this. I said, great. Then came this Pan IIT thing. So I'm an alumni of IIT. So here was a payback time, having been trained some of the best technical knowledge in the country, and one of the premier institutes like IIT Kanpur. How can I make that IIT learning go down to the blue collar level workers? So how can I? So that became another interesting option. Then came these the renewable energy bit. I mean, we can create these gigawatt farms and megawatt farms, which is supplying electricity, and the Prime Minister has already declared a mission for that. But what about the people in the villages? How can we create livelihood capabilities for them so that they don't have to migrate from the villages? So Sanmoksh is doing such work where you can create livelihood opportunities, microeconomic zones. They can find employment where they are. If I can provide them 24/7 consistent, reliable energy, using renewable sources, using the resources of the village, then many things can happen. And many things I don't have to dictate. I'm maybe a shahri admi, an urban guy. The villagers are more intelligent. I can say that. I mean, just have to provide the basis, the platform. After that, they take off.
So inspiring. You have shared three primary things. Basically, you said that, after your retirement, or after you decide that you're going solo, just wait and watch is also one of the ways. The way you mentioned Shah Rukh Khan's example, that let the universe conspire. Just set that intent that I want to create impact primarily in these 2 or 3 fields, or maybe let that intent also be finalized by the universe. Then you also shared that, when you think that you are going ahead with this kind of a solo venture or solo impact, monetary gain is not that important. That automatically happens. And you also shared that your background was such that, such opportunities kept coming to you. Finally, I also want to add to this, Atulji. I have also been dealing with a lot of global leaders, and who have now planned to go solo. Sometimes we may not need money, but since all through our life we have been inspired by money, so it does make a sense to start earning money solo as an entrepreneur as well. Sometimes you may not have that clarity initially, but at the heart of your heart you might still want to prove yourself. You have proven in the corporate world, now you want to prove yourself as an entrepreneur. So I personally feel you should go ahead and get going. What's your observation on it, Atulji?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, look, just because I have spent 30 years in corporate life, and
Yeah.
I have so-called the experience and the skills,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that everything of that applies now. What applies
Yeah,
now is when you're going solo, and suppose, let's say I
yeah,
was a mentor, or I become a consultant or a coach or whatever it may be, unless I bring my say personal experiences to fruition with the skills that I have developed to make somebody else grow in their lives. I mean, today I just talked about the time management and all that bit, but the fact of the matter is none of the books kind of write that. I just happened to look up, okay, look, what are the skills required while working abroad? And Google
yeah,
Mata kind of told me the same thing: resilience, problem solving skills, and but those are standard marks. But if I can
yeah.
use my personal, let's say, experiences to benefit others, then that becomes a very big thing. And for that, it can be a commercial relationship. Why not? I mean, if you are making
Yeah,
somebody else grow, and that
yeah,
somebody else grows monetarily also, then you're
yeah.
entitled to a certain portion of that monetary benefit that you
Amazing,
get.
amazing. Shambhu Yadav says, the things we learn throughout our life has some relevance when pass it on to the society, or when we try to work for our society through our experience. We have to decide when we want to do this. Amazing, Shambhu. Agreed with you. It can be done along with current responsibilities or later part of our life. And I personally feel, Atulji, what Shambhu is saying definitely makes sense, because most of us, in any case, when we are in the corporate sector, we also have that kind of intense desire to contribute to society. So most of us also choose to do it simultaneously. However, what we are talking about today, Shambhu, is more focused on when you go solo as a coach, consultant, trainer, advisor, entrepreneur, or even mentor. Simply that. Anything you want to particularly say, Atul, on Shambhu?
Yeah, what Shambhu said, okay, look, it can be done along with current responsibilities or later in your life. Actually, there's a bit of both. You can start with your current responsibilities. I mean,
Yeah,
the very function of CSR, how is the
yeah,
CSR money is being deployed? So in your
yeah.
current responsibilities, you can put that into practice. And of course, later on, how you want to kind of take forward maybe the same project or different projects of a similar kind, you can do that
Hmm.
too. But yes,
Yeah.
the amount of, let's say, the single-minded effort will only happen when you are through with your current responsibilities, because the current responsibilities, especially when you're at a senior level, they occupy a lot
Yeah.
of time.
So, meanwhile, Kavindra says, how do you compare between working in team in corporate environment and working in akela chalo re environment? What according to you are the advantages of working in solo? Back to you, Atul, and I'll share my answer. Yeah,
Look, working in solo is something to be experienced. Really, I can't really say that this is these are the advantages. But just to keep, let's say, what is corporate life is not is what is solo life is. Correct. So, corporate life is, reporting to some boss. There are shareholders, there's customers, there are targets to be met, the plans to be drawn up, reportees, technology, the work. So your mind is getting stretched in so many different directions. Why? Because you think you are delivering a certain result which the shareholders want, or which the stakeholders want,
hmm,
and you feeling great about it. Correct. But in a solo environment, you are actually working for yourself. I mean, this is, I told you about that mind, body, intellect, ego, etc. What the package that was sent from God to this earth to find a purpose in life is when you start doing things solo. So you have done all
yeah,
that bit, growing
yeah,
from a baby to a college girl person to a corporate life. Now it's for you to deliver after all that good has been done to you, and so
yeah.
that's the, let's say, benefit of working with solo. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Atul. And I strongly feel that going solo versus going with teams, working with teams and solo are two different dimensions altogether. And we must all experience these two different dimensions in life at one time or other. And you will be able to experience advantages and the benefits of both when you actually adopt to these two different dimensions at different phases of life. So, meanwhile, Carla says, I think village living will be sought out more in the future than city living. It will be much more than farming and working on the land, but taking care of a piece of land will be admired as a better quality of life. Amazing, Atul. Carla is one such person who is master on creative thinking and psychology, and she's written a number of books on it. And I would love to take her opinions and comments here. What's your observation on it, Atul?
Carla, very well said. I mean, for me, the biggest entrepreneur is a farmer, very frankly, the one who tills the land. Because when he or she takes the risk of putting a seed in the soil, he or she doesn't know what will happen next.
True.
He or she hopes that a plant will grow and something else
Yeah.
will come out from there. But if it doesn't, then again, all the disappointment is hers or his only. So I'm just saying
Yeah.
that farmer is an entrepreneur who we kind of forget to acknowledge, but he or she takes the maximum risk. And when that particular earth kind of gives him that reward of something growing from there, which turns into a crop or fruit or whatever, and makes a further impact in fulfilling somebody's food needs, that's when the real satisfaction comes. So yes, tilling the land is one of the most satisfying things. And in urban living, you can only till pots. It's only in the village can you till land. From gardening to farming, you have to make the progression.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we are coming to the last part of this show, which is, asking ourselves, how do I find my own purpose of life? I was just talking to Atul before starting the show, and I was sharing that, I've personally experienced interacting with people that when I talk to them after about 10 years or 15 years, their purpose of life is redefined, it's repositioned, and it's changed completely.
Turning 60, when I was in the 20s, it used to scare me because at that time people call retirement, and especially in India, after retirement, I mean, the longevity of life was much less. Within 5-10 years, people would kind of go and find their heavenly abode. So it used to be a very scary thing. But today I'm enjoying it. I mean, I found a new purpose in life today. Divya, when you said you're turning 60, so I said, okay, this looks like diamond. So I am now finding for myself, I was actually looking up the properties of a diamond, what makes diamond so endearing, especially ladies for that matter. So it's there is and I'm told that every diamond is different, which makes you
True.
unique. It can shine in the night also. It's great. It's a precious stone, valued and sought after by so many people. It adds to the wealth of other people itself. They feel more confident if they have diamonds. So it's just all happiness involved with it. I find it is a great, let's say, purpose in life to be a diamond itself, and
Yeah.
to grow out from there. And maybe I think 75 is platinum, so I'll look up platinum when I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So, meanwhile, let's read a very quick comment. Swapnil has written, for me, working solo also means you need to be part of yourself among your team members so that team can then individually be solo, following same principles of sharing and caring. Amazing. Salute to you. Hats off to you. Because this kind of a thought process can only happen when you have experienced the joy of being solo and the benefit of being solo, and then you want to share this same experience with others, let them experience the same thing. What's your observation on it, Atul?
With Swapnil's comment, I got reminded of a boss of mine who used to say, in order to be promoted, you have to make yourself redundant. And
Yeah.
I would say, look, when am I getting my promotion? He says, have you made your job redundant? And I said, hold on, if I get my job redundant, you'll throw me out. He said, no. That's when I know that people, your team, either you automate processes or your team is fully empowered to do entirely the same work, that if you disappear, nothing will change. That's when I say,
Yeah.
okay, now new responsibility for this guy, and with some rewards, because he's created that environment, an entire ecosystem that he's going to leave behind in his team, where they can deliver the same quality of output that when he was being there. So that is how
Yeah.
I think what Swapnil was saying, you leave the person such that each person feels empowered to, whether work solo or in collaboration, can deliver the same output as when you were there.
I have been asking questions from Atul. You have been asking questions from Atul as audience. Now it's Atul's turn to ask me the question. Atul, what is your question for me today on your birthday?
Thank you for that. Divya, I just was curious to know, how do you measure the impact of your show on people who are listening to you as an audience over the number of shows that you've had? And second part to it is, how do you value the impact on you yourself? What will you say to
Okay.
that?
Inspiring. So, long time back, about 20, 22 years back, I had done this, my first certification program in being a trained or certified trainer. So one of our trainers, who was our teacher also, he said that you don't have to measure the impact of training by the number of people who attended or by number of people who gave you a positive impact. How do you measure the real impact of your training is that if one person, ultimately out of those hundreds or thousands of people, if one person has been able to implement what exactly you wanted to transform or transfer to them. That means, let's say if I am training someone on coaching skills, so if someone has been able to pick up from that master class, how do you improve your coaching skill, and he or she has been able to implement that one insight thoroughly in their life? That's the success of training. So when I come back to this show, I personally believe that we have been giving a lot of master classes in this. I've been sharing my personal and spiritual experiences with the audience here. I've been inviting global leaders here. So the impact of the show is that one audience participant, one person, if he or she has been able to implement those frameworks that are being taught here, or has been able to imbibe those insights being shared by the guest, I think that's the impact we have created. I don't plan to create a lot of impact on everyone's life, but if that ultimate insight has been able to get converted into practical implementation, that's the impact. Now, second question you had asked is, how is the impact on me when I interact with global leaders here, and when I deliver my own master classes, or I deliver spiritual sessions? A lot of preparation goes in hand. I get to see their profile, I get to interact with them, I get to learn a lot from them, I get to prepare myself for all those master classes. So I think I continuously keep evolving. I'm a person who learns by training or coaching or teaching. So a lot of learning happens with me as well. What's been your observation?
Look, I'm very fascinated with this show itself, and that's the reason I kept this question till the last. I think you're doing a great job. As you rightly said, it's not the impact in terms of numbers, it's in the impact of where it has happened, because you never know. You might impact one life, and that one life might impact some 10,000 others. So even though
Absolutely.
you may not get the credit for it, so called, but you somewhere in your heart of heart feels, yes, yeah, something has happened, something different has
Yeah.
happened in my life. So all kudos to you and your team, and I think it's a great show. Please carry on with this, and I'll remain a fan of yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Atulji. And what do you plan to do today on your birthday?
Look, I think I've already done what I would have never thought I would do. I mean, otherwise, birthdays are usually full of fun, frolic, food, mithai, people coming over, maybe having a drink also. But I think I'd never thought that I'll be able to, let's say, express myself on your show. So I think this is the most unique thing that's happened. Rest of the birthday will go as many birthdays do, but this was special. Thank you.
Take care till then, Atulji. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.